Imagine your entire world turned upside down in an instant. Everything you've worked for, lost in the blink of an eye. How would you react? Anger, despair, or something else entirely? Around 300 BCE, a man named Cleanthes faced this very dilemma. Once a wealthy athlete, Cleanthes saw his fortune vanish after a sudden accident ended his career. But rather than succumbing to despair, he embraced a different path that would not only change his life, but influence the way we understand happiness today. Cleanthes turned to Stoicism, a philosophy that teaches us to find strength not in what happens to us, but in how we choose to respond. Cleanthes drew inspiration from his mentor, Zeno, and other Stoic thinkers. They taught that while we cannot control external events, we have complete control over our reactions. This simple shift in thinking changed everything for Cleanthes, and it can transform our lives too. At the heart of Stoicism is the concept of acceptance. Life is unpredictable, and often, circumstances beyond our control disrupt our peace of mind. But the Stoics remind us that no matter the situation, we can always choose our response. We can either let misfortune defeat us, or we can use it to grow stronger. Picture this: you're caught in a downpour without an umbrella. You can't control the rain, but you can decide whether to be frustrated or accept it with equanimity. It's all about perspective. For the Stoics, happiness is not found in possessions or status, but in living a life of virtue. There are 4 core virtues: wisdom, courage, temperance, and justice. Wisdom is about knowing the difference between what is in our control and what is not. Courage is to persist and resist in the face of adversity. Temperance is about doing more with less and not being consumed by desires. And justice is the principle that we are all connected, with a duty to do good for one another. Stoicism isn't just theory, it's a practical guide for everyday life. One of the exercises recommended by the Stoics is called voluntary discomfort. This means occasionally putting yourself in uncomfortable situations to build resilience. For example, taking cold showers or eating simple foods for a week helps you appreciate what you usually take for granted and prepares you mentally for tougher times. Today, we're surrounded by messages that try to convince us that happiness comes from material possessions or social status. But Stoicism challenges this notion, reminding us that these things are fleeting. The most important Stoic principle is the dichotomy of control. We can't dictate what happens to us, but we can control how we respond. Nelson Mandela, who was imprisoned for 27 years, embraced this mindset. Instead of letting bitterness consume him, he focused on what he could control: his attitude and actions. This choice empowered him to promote reconciliation rather than revenge. In modern psychology, techniques inspired by Stoicism, such as cognitive behavioral therapy, help people challenge negative thought patterns and adopt healthier perspectives. It's not about ignoring our emotions, but learning to deal with them constructively. Ultimately, the Stoics teach us that happiness is found in our inner life, not in external circumstances. By focusing on what we can control, we can reduce unnecessary suffering and find contentment even in difficult times. Cleanthes may have lost his wealth, but he gained something far more valuable: a resilient mindset that allowed him to face any challenge with grace. So, how can we walk the Stoic path in our own lives? First, practice acceptance. Acknowledge that life's twists and turns are beyond your control, but your response is not. Second, cultivate the 4 virtues: wisdom, courage, temperance, and justice in your daily actions. And finally, remember the dichotomy of control. Don't measure your happiness by outcomes you can't dictate, but by the effort you put in and the virtues you uphold. Life's storms may rage, but with a Stoic mindset, we can navigate even the roughest seas and find our way to calmer waters. As the Stoics would say, the obstacle is the way. Embrace every challenge, and you'll find meaning in even the toughest of times. Like, share, and subscribe for more Stoic wisdom.